Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Market Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Tuesday, the 5th of November. Happy election day, everybody. Hope everybody voted. And let's hope that we get, a winner declared sooner than later. And let's hope it doesn't drag on, right? So in any event, really strong price action. I'm not really going to go into like who this favors or like, what groups went up and what went down in terms of like um what party is, what trade, what election trade for what side. Bottom line is I think, and the way that I've been kind of positioning since the beginning of the month, I've been try to be a little bit more aggressive, try to stay in some trades, even though yesterday's price action wasn't great. It was kind of Yesterday's price action was just kind of what we've been seeing, where things kind of fall apart in the afternoon. But we didn't break any major support yesterday in terms of what I was looking at, which is the 50-day moving average and the indices. And I'm erring on the side of just being a little bit more aggressive. Why? Because November is one of the strongest seasonal months. So there's nothing, as I kind of said, in our midday updates, there's nothing 100% about this stuff, right? It's all about probabilities. So you do have to, have a backup plan, and that's a stop prices and so forth. But, I've said, there was a comment from the trading room about, hey, I thought that, a couple people said, hey, I thought today might be a bit more choppier than it was. I did too, like, but I also didn't think we were going to fall down as much as we did on Thursday either, in terms of the price action. So it's very, the point is, it's very difficult to predict like what you're going to get in terms of price action. The only thing that you could really do is kind of, do your analysis, um, figure out what you think is a good setup and understand if it doesn't work, right? There's no guarantee that any trade or how good looking a setup. I see this all the time. People are like, this is an A setup, right? And then the next thing it falls to the downside. So that's more or less sales tactics that people do. I understand that, there's a 50-50 chance basically of, of a trade working. If you've got a little bit of edge, to the market, maybe you can bump that up to maybe 55% or even maybe 60%. Depending on when breadth is expanding, right? You when you have the wind at your back, when more stocks are going up versus going down. We haven't had that. Today was a strong day, which and let's hope it starts the beginning of a trend. But one day, we know that one day is not a trend. So again, all I'm trying to be is realistic. And I have risk on, and I'm not downplaying, I'm not downplaying today's price action. I expect November to be a stronger month. And I did go out and buy the dip. And one of the things I said is, hey, watch this 50-day moving average. If we begin to kind of break below that, then you have to kind of get out of the way, and you never know if there's going to be one more swoop lower, before that stronger seasonality kicks in, or by chance it doesn't kick in, right? These are all things that you have to realize, as a trader, and have things defined. But here's where we are. So this was a nice day. Overall, when we look at the performance of the indices, SPY was up 1.2%. And by the way, risk disclaimer in front of you, everything that I'm going through is for information purpose only, not giving any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. Whoops, there we go. So SPY's great, up 1.2%. Qs were up a little bit more. And then IWM and IWC, microcaps and small caps, really came on strong. You could see that they actually had the best performance since the open. They were underperforming a little bit, but they actually came in very strong there in the afternoon, up 1.9%. Bitcoin had a big move today. I was a little bit shaky there in the afternoon, but still, like, I don't know, really, I don't think shaky is probably the right way to describe it, because up 3.3% is very strong for the Bitcoin ETF. So I just wanted to give you that performance. But yeah, we're basically back to, a little bit better than where we opened on this gap down on Thursday. So there's this gap to fill if you're looking at that. And this should also trigger the bullish 80% rule tomorrow, as long as we stay above 572.88. So what does the bullish 80% rule? So first of all, any of these terms that I bring up and you may not be aware of, just Google them. I had somebody ask me what implied volatility means. I'm like, just go right to Google. This is why I think people will have a difficult time with OpenAI, because I think Google is the easiest thing to use, and yet many can't do it. Any financial term, you could Google it, even though if it if it's obscure, and you'll get a better definition than I could probably give you or anybody else. So I know it takes about 30 seconds to research, but that's the best answer that you're going to get. So you could Google, what is the 80% rule using valuaries, and you'll get a great definition. But it's basically when you start a period either, so in this sense, November, this is a monthly valuary. When you start either below or you start above and you break into that valuary, there's an 80% chance that you're going to go from one side to the other. So that's about 1.5% up. That's not that large of a move. But regardless, this should trigger. It'll take tomorrow. Once the clock turns, it will it will reset, and it will basically uh, uh, give you the 80% rule. So or it will turn for the valuer studies and show you that. And you could see the Qs already did that, right? Because we started the month below value and we broke in, and now, and this is why I'm long the Qs. So I'm trying to play this bullish 80% rule, and I got long right on the first of the month. It was a little bit shaky yesterday. I hung in there, and so looking for a move basically up to 498.56, right? So that's what the Qs show. IWM, like I said, had a really nice day, and it broke above the valuary. So again, kind of sneaky there at the end of the day. But here's especially, like, this was a 5-minute VPOC taken out at about 2 o'clock, and this really kind of kicked up at the end of the day, and finished very close to the high of the day. One chart that I've been going over a lot and kind of talking about is the biotech chart. Right, this is very coiled up. I did buy some calls in XBI. I decided to play it that way rather than stock. Um, New Zealand jobless rate rises less than expected to 4.8%. So I was just looking at what's referred to as a red headline on Bloomberg. But let's see, this is still range bound. So I love, like, so some people are like, oh my God, it's breaking out. I do have a signal to go long against versus 98.82, but it's got a ways to go before we really see anything. But I do like how sideways this is. And the comment that I would make is we've seen so many areas, and biotech has been bottled up for a while, but so we've seen a lot of a lot of decent stories that have happened, that have transpired over the last few months. China stocks went crazy. We've seen crypto stocks go crazy. We've seen nuclear stocks go crazy, all to the upside. So why not look for the next one and think about what that next group could be? I think it could be that it has the possibility to be biotech. All right. A couple other things. Here's our watch list. Unfortunately, I didn't play all of these names. I would have liked to play the CLS. Again, this is our weekend watch list. RKLB looks very good, by the way. Um, I was looking at this chart. Remember, this VPOC, took this out and kind of faded. Now that that's been taken out, it's been regrouping and starting to push higher here above the valuer. So again, how would I play this stock? I would be long versus the top of the valuer, 1137. Right? Again, defining your trade. That's what we do. Affirm and Upstart, both looking pretty good here. Affirm was the name that I traded last week and sold it right here, right in the top of the valuary, but it's testing that again. There's going to be some interesting reports coming up. This report is Thursday, but you're going to have this. You're going to have Upstart. I did get long some Upstart today. The plan is to take targets, which I did take a target or two in this stock. It was up 7% today, and maybe I'll hold or put on an earnings trade once this name reports earnings. But very nice move in Upstart. Viking Cruises, hey, this is a name. This is the only name that I put on yesterday. This is a very nice move. Again, very nice chart pattern. I don't know. Maybe people will go for cruises, like they'll book cruises after the election. Who knows, right? Maybe people will watch Netflix to kind of, Netflix is another name that tried to get going a bit today, right? Strong earnings, right? So you can rationalize some of these names to say, hey, this is what people might be doing. And then Powell had a nice move. This is a tough stock to trade. It seems to go up when there's a Fed meeting. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up, but it seems like it does. Inside day yesterday, and what a move today, up 9.5%. That's the way that this stock moves. It's pretty crazy. How can I forget the Palantir? And Palantir had a nice move up. This is a member of the TTG trend portfolio. I think I'm up something like 45% in this position since I put it on back in the beginning of September. I put this on September 11th in the TTG trend portfolio, and this has made one heck of a move. And then, of course, the other kind of momentum type name. This name was kind of coming in here at the end of the day, and all of a sudden, buyers kind of came back in here. Let me just bring this out. See what I mean? Like this thing topped out at around like 2 o'clock. That was around like 96, came all the way in here. And then just at the last minute, buyers kind of showed up and pushed this thing, back to the highs. But you can see that dotted line. So, many times I think I'm in this too. It's tough to buy a name after it gaps up like 25%. But as long as you've got a level to trade against, in this sense, notice where I put that dotted line. Right, I put that at the previous highs, not at the all-time highs, but at the closing highs, right? And that kind of coincides with this intraday high here. But that's how you have to do it. And you can't look at any of this and say, "Oh, I missed it. Oh, if only I could have bought it." Right? You got to think about the future. And all these people who will retweet themselves on Twitter whenever they mention the stock, right? That doesn't help anybody, right? That's just, it's sales, right? People are doing a lot of sales on Twitter these days, right? But going forward, like so first of all, look at the volume in this name today. So come up with a reference point where you can kind of try to position in this thing, because again, you've got to focus on this part of the screen up here. So use some level that makes you feel comfortable and that you can make a decision based on, and then go from there, because these names sometimes run for a couple days. Speaking of which, Reddit was one of those names, right? Reddit ran for 2 days, 2 days, and then kind of paired back, filled in a little bit, let that 5-day moving average catch up, and look at it. That's a new closing high for Reddit. All right. So I will leave it there. I think I covered enough names. Let's see if this price action can continue. If it doesn't, it could be another, I mean, I still err on the side that November should be a strong seasonal month, but I've got levels to, now I would say for my Qs trade, again, I'll be watching 486, 42. And again, I took another target in it. Every time I take targets, it just gives myself a little bit of flexibility, especially in this market where it's gotten a little bit more difficult, over the last month, with this type of price action. So you take some targets into strength, and you look for opportunities when we have a dip. All right, guys, that's it for today. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.